cache and retime the simulations in preparation for rendering. So the key here is caching each piece of geometry in the right way. So we're going to go into the fluid here, and we're going to specifically look at all the different nodes that are here. And we don't need all of them. That one we can delete. Most of those we can delete. So we really got a file cache for caching the simulation and a particle fluid surface for surfacing it. So the name for this, let's just call this the base name wine fluid. And we're going to put it in a folder called geo/fluid. Just we can put that name there and it'll create a directory for us. We don't need a version number. And we're going to right click and delete channels, and we're only going to do 10 frames. So just like we talked about earlier, we're going to do 10 frames and then later retime that. So we're going to save for disk. This will save the 10 frames out. Some of them are already ready, so they were pre-cached. I sort of sped that up just so we got through there. And so now we set that and we load from disk. So there's our points coming in up to frame 10, and then they disappear. So now let's put that down, and we're going to go tab and retime. And this will allow us to retime this sequence, and it will fill the intermediate spaces nicely. So we're going to delete channel on the frame number. And so now there's just frame 1 all the way across. And we're going to scale velocities. And we're going to set a keyframe here at frame 1 and another one at frame 5. So it'll stay static for 5 frames. Then we will go to frame 10, where it's going to go to frame 7. So it's going to explode very quickly. And then we're going to take what's on frame 10 and move that up to frame 40, where we'll go up to the full 10. So it's going to go up really quickly and then slow down. And we'll see that in the curve editor when we do that. And then we're going to have it go back to 1 and keyframe. Press the Alt key to keyframe, just like we have been all the way for the frame parameter. So it comes out and there. And if we go to the animation editor, we see this. And if we want, we can grab points like this and we can have them change those to be very sharp. So we have sharp edges there. And then we can sort of smooth that out and smooth that out. And if we go back to scene view, we can watch that. So press play, slows down, bullet time, and then snaps back. So that's what we want to do with this sequence. And so if we click on the next node, that's the one that surfaces it. And it isn't happy at the moment. And one of the reasons for that is we have to turn off this union compressed fluid surface on the cache node, on the particle surface node. Then once that's done, it will work. And then we can add some other features like dilate and what kind of flow we want between as we filter between them and get that surfacing the way we want. So, and we can go. Now this one we're not going to get real-time playback at the moment because it's, of course, it's calculating the surfacing at each frame. So what we can do is we can then export this as a USD sequence. So when we bring this in to render later, it is a surface ready to go, cached and working efficiently. So we're going to render the frame range 1 to 50 because we've retimed it, and we're going to go put it into /USD and then and then we're going to call this wine.usd or winesurface.usd. So once we have that, we can simply press save to disk, and it's going to go off, and we've sort of sped this up, and it's going to go and surface all 50 of those frames and spit that out. And we'll come back to that later when we work with Solaris to render these. Now we select and Control-C to copy the retime node because we're going to use exactly the same retiming in other parts of the network. So go back up to the object level, and we can go into the wine glass, and down at the bottom we have our fractured wine glass, and we're going to go tab, file cache. So we're down here, and this will basically do the same thing for the RBD sim that we had done with the fluid. So glass pieces, and we're going to put them into /geo/glass. And we probably don't need a version, just like we did before. And just like we did before, we're going to delete channels, and we're only going to do the 10 frames because those 10 frames are going to be retimed. Save that to disk. That happens fairly quickly. It now loads from disk, so now this plays back. You can scrub quite nicely in it because that's ready to go. So now we go Control V with the retime. We plug that in. It's going to do exactly what it did for the fluid, and now it comes out, and there we go, and it sort of does the bullet time thing. Exactly the same animation curve as we have with the other one. So now if we go Tab, Attribute, Delete, because these are broken into pieces, they have name attributes which will affect how they come into Solaris. So we're going to get rid of the name attribute, and that will just allow us to bring in this geometry as a single piece instead of broken pieces into Solaris. So we're now going to put a switch node in where we're going to say we've got glass out. So that's the glass when it has no fracturing, and then there's the glass when it does have fracturing. And what we can do is we can say, we can switch back and forth between them. And so we're going to put an expression in here that says $f is greater than 5. And $f is less than 45. So as you can see, we go forward, and then it becomes the smashing glass, and then it goes back to being the non-smashing one. So that gives us a nice look for that. And smooth wired shade, you'll get a better read for that. So no fracturing at all. Then suddenly the fracturing kicks in at frame 5, and at 45 it goes away. So that's nice. That'll give us a nice sequence that we can work with for the glass without worrying about having two different versions in our for rendering purposes. So we do USD export just like we did before. This time we're again doing a sequence, so we're going to render frame range from 1 to 50. We're going to change this to /USD wine glass, and we'll put it USD /wineglass.usd. There we go. So it's in the subdirectory that we put the other piece. And once we have that, we press Save to Disk. That goes fairly quickly because it's all been cached and ready to go. And now we have two pieces that we can work with. So the next thing we want to do is the bullet. So in the case of the bullet, what we want to do is, because of the nature of this particular, because this has parameters at the object level, we're going to take that and extract that out. And that creates a merged version of this, which we can then use the retime node on. So the bullet will do, well, can't really see it on here, but the bullet will do the retime. Everything that it was doing before, it'll happen here with the retiming. So the bullet time. And once we've got that working, we don't need to worry about that so much. We can tab USD export and export that in a similar manner to what we did with the other pieces. Export current frame range /USD /bullet.usd and press Save to Disk. There we go. So all three of these objects are synced up from a retiming point of view, and that will allow us to render properly.